All right, fifth grade, part two of lesson two, World War One, finishing up things there. Yesterday, we looked at, okay, why did World War One start? And why did America get involved in World War One? Well, it was a combination of a few things. Uh, it started because of the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, and America got involved because we had allies that were fighting, the Zimmerman telegram, and unrestricted submarine warfare. So combinations of those things led President Woodrow Wilson to ask Congress to declare war, and the war then started for the United States in 1917. Today we're looking at how did the war end? What was America's involvement in the war? What role did our country play? All right, World War One. What we're looking at today, our objective, we want to analyze the role of the United States in the war and its outcomes. So on the home front, you'd see lots of propaganda like this. We can do it, help deliver the goods. People who were not fighting in the war had a vital role to play in the success of the war. If you take a look at the picture in the background, you'll notice these are all women working. Now, typically at this time, it was mostly men who had jobs. Women still worked, but during the war, women especially had an important role because it was their job to keep all these factories going and produce things to help us win the war. So America's at home. They'd build small weapons, uniforms, rifle, helmets to try to help out. And we produced more during this war than any other country had in history. The government would ration goods. So just like we are asked right now to stay home because of COVID-19 and to wash your hands more regularly and to cover your face when you go to the grocery store. During this war, people were also asked to do certain things like don't eat meat on Tuesdays because America was going through kind of a food shortage. We wanted to make sure we had enough food to feed everyone in America, but also had supplies to send to the soldiers fighting in Europe. And so another part of this was many women started to work in factories. You would make weapons or repair cars. There were lots of factories that were used for something else that they weren't intended for. For example, General Motors today is making ventilators to help with the coronavirus. At this time, you would have maybe a car factory create weapons instead, or something like that. African Americans, they went north to work in factories as well. All right, so America's role, we provided lots of supplies, lots of help, not only to our soldiers, but also to the countries that we were allies with. It ends with the Treaty of Versailles. The Allies end up winning the war. On November 11th, 1918, an armistice was signed. An armistice is a vocabulary word. It means an agreement to stop fighting. So on November 11th, it's known as Veterans Day. That's why we celebrate that day as Veterans Day. The two sides, Allies and the Central Powers, meet, and President Wilson wants to start the League of Nations at this time, which in his mind is going to be a worldwide organization for peace. You can see in this cartoon, if you look really closely, this is President Wilson, and this is a dove. Now, doves are like a symbol of peace, and this is an olive branch. It says League of Nations. So Woodrow Wilson's plan was to have peace for everyone. But if you take a look, this cartoon has a secret meaning behind it. It says overweighted. President Wilson, here's your olive branch. Now get busy. Of course I want to please everybody, but isn't this a bit thick? So basically what the dove is saying is, take a look at that stick. It's way too big for the dove to carry. So whoever drew this cartoon was trying to say that Woodrow Wilson had a great idea, right? Let's have peace for everyone. but they didn't think that his idea was realistic. Just like this dove can't realistically carry this huge branch, he doesn't think the world would realistically be able to carry out this plan of world peace. So Congress decides not to join the League of Nations. There was a strong feeling in our country of isolationism, meaning that our citizens wanted to stay out of other countries' affairs. We wanted to keep to ourselves and let the other nations deal with their own issues. So the League of Nations is formed, thanks to a lot of help by President Wilson. However, America does not join the League of Nations right away. Here's our summary. 1914, Allies and Central Powers went to war in Europe. The United States joined the Allies in 1917 and sent soldiers to Europe. Civilians at home worked hard to support the war. In 1919, the Allies and Central Powers ended the war by signing the Treaty of Versailles. So, like today, our society is having to make sacrifices for a greater cause. Back in the early 1900s, in 1917 and 1918, our society also had to make some sacrifices for a greater cause, world peace. That's all for this lesson on World War I. You do have another video to watch on, actually 2 videos to watch on the Treaty of Versailles and how that all worked out. Blessings on your day.